What's up, and welcome everybody to a much needed Palmetto Cats Live. If you're new to the channel, I'm Kevin. Welcome. We've got a great show for you tonight. I have four guests. Unfortunately, one of our guests had to drop out for an emergency, so we'll be thinking about him. But we got four awesome guests that are going to come up today and share their top five inventions to fishing that have totally changed the game for them. And I just want to go ahead and thank my guests in advance for coming on. We're not going to talk too much, guys. We're going to get right into it. Each guest is going to have five things that they're going to describe. It could be a trusty hat or a rod and reel or whatever it could be. I'm not going to say too much because I might give one away. But each one is going to have five to tell you about. And it may be some that you already use, and it may be something that totally changes your game of fishing. So listen closely. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I see everybody in the chat. Welcome. I'm just going to say hello to everybody at once, and we're going to get this party started. So I'm going to bring up my guests one by one and introduce them. Thank you to Chris from Gato Azul YouTube channel. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
Hailing from the hot state of Texas, man.
Man.
I hear it's been a scorcher out there.
The oven called Texas.
Well, welcome tonight. Thank you for your time. I'm going to bring up another guy. Probably needs no introduction, but just in case, this is Mr. Joe Jellison. He runs the Chatt Cats YouTube channel and Scenic City Fishing Charters out of Tennessee. What's up, Joe?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Thanks for taking time out of your vacation to come up here and talk to us, man. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Next, another guy that needs no introduction, Mr. Alex Nagy. He'll tell me how to pronounce that correctly one day. But he's the owner of Rippin Fishing Products and Twisted Cat Outdoors Fishing Tournament Series. And he's just coming off a tournament yesterday. What's up, Alex? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Just pulled in the driveway from a long weekend. Nice. Just in perfect time to do this with you guys.
Yes, sir. Is it Nagy or Nagy?
Nagy.
You answered
Nagy.
Both. Nagy. Okay.
Yeah, Nagy. Yep.
All right, cool. Sometimes, people get my last name wrong, so I just answer to hey you most of the time. But all right, and then last but not least, we have Mr. Ray Ferguson, professional tournament angler extraordinaire. What's up, Ray? How you doing?
How you guys doing? Pretty good. I see Alex. Alex looking pretty good over there. He looked like he's relaxing.
Hey, man, when you work hard, you get to relax hard, and Alex works hard.
I know it was hot on him this weekend. I can promise you.
It's the hottest tournament I've ever put on, been at, anything I've ever done in my life, I tell you.
Wow.
I think at one time it was 106 actual temperature.
Wow.
Brutal conditions.
Where were you yesterday?
So in about 2 hours south of St. Louis and Cape Girardeau, right on the Mississippi River in Missouri. And it was just a scorcher. The way that we do tournaments, we check libels in the morning. So we were there at 4 in the morning, and I didn't leave that boat ramp till 7:45 Saturday night. So I spent all day there, and it was a rough one.
Wow, man. Well, if you guys want to check out some awesome tournament experiences and get a part of it, if you're in the Midwest, check out Twisted Cat Tournament Series, Twisted Cat Outdoors Tournament Series. But well, if you can check out all the links, they're in the description as always. So after the show, go click on it, show these guys some support. And I'm going to take this branding off of Chris's face right there. There we go. All right, so let's get into the meat of it. Tonight's show is about 5 inventions, and I left it totally open so you can pick anything you want, and everything's an invention at some point. So if it's a hat, a rod reel, a step system, I fished with the guy yesterday who loved the steps on the front of my pontoon trailer. It changed his life yesterday, so it could be anything like that. And we're going to start with Chris from Gato Azul. Chris, give us your first life-changing fishing invention.
My first one is an easy one for me. It's an invention that came out about 20 years ago. It's side image sonar.
Oh.
Whenever I got that side image, at first when you get it, it's like trying to learn a new language, Swahili or Japanese. But over time, it's become probably the biggest game changer for me that has come along in blue catting in my 30 years of chasing these fish. I use it every trip, all trip. I rely on it heavily to not just find fish, but to see what they're doing and figure out the bait patterns and everything. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You know, not only fish, catfish, but bait fish, probably, right?
Definitely. So, you know, bait's the first kind of the piece of the puzzle when you're blue catting, figuring out what the bait's doing and where it's been, where it's going, what it's going to do that day. And before the side image, you were just looking at 2D right under your boat, and it's kind of like it's just not the full picture. You can't see how things are orienting to structure, and
right.
And you know, it's just like I said, it's the biggest game changer for me.
Yeah, as someone new to side imaging, I've always had just, you know, sonar or down imaging. It's starting to change my game too. Just to compound what you said, jump on the piggyback on that. I use mine a lot to just find structure.
Oh yeah,
you know, looking out 60, 80 feet from the boat,
definitely.
stuff that you can't see just rolling over it.
It helps if you're like targeting a specific piece of structure, like a hump. You can see how the fish are laying on the ledge, if they're at the bottom of the ledge, if they're laying on the ledge, if they're up on top of the hump. Or if you're fishing, like say the channel in the winter, you can see if they're laying in the channel, if they're up on the flats next to the channel, if you know they're in the bends. Going and scanning that whole area before you go fish it helps you kind of just understand where the fish are going to be when you come to them, and helps you kind of set up on them better, and you know you can see exactly. Once you get good at it, you can tell that's a 30, that's a 20, that's a 50. And, you know, it helps you craft, you know, your game, your plan of attack. You know, instinct, guys fish off instinct. And I still use instinct as well, but I use that graph. And if I don't see something I like, I just keep moving until I see what I like. And I won't throw down until I see what I like. You know, some guys, they'll fish they'll find an area they think they're going to come through, and they'll set up, and it may take hours before they even get bit. And I can't do that.
I used to be that guy.
I prefer to go find the fish, know what's there, kind of see what they're doing, and then set up on them that way. And it's just, to me, that your level of success goes way up if you're on the fish that you're trying to fish, trying to catch. So
I know that Ray uses side imaging a lot. Ray, do you want to speak on it any?
Yeah, sometimes I think that graft is on what do they call it? Demo mode. Because a lot of them fish, sometimes they don't bite. I don't know what the deal is. I was hoping he was going to tell me the secret. But yeah.
I can attest to that. I've been on Ray's boat a couple times and never caught a fish.
Yeah, I'm notorious for that. If you want to go practicing, I'm the guy.
Well, one thing that's cool about side image is if you find fish and they're not biting, you know, once you get good at finding fish, you're not too scared to, you know. 20 years ago, I'd say, I can't move off these fish. I just can't move off these fish. I'm just going to sit here and fish them.
Yeah.
But over time, you find out if they're not biting, you're better off just moving. You know, just go find a different group. There's different groups. They're not all in the exact same area. I mean, you go find different fish, and sometimes it's just best to just move, man. Keep on moving till you find some that are willing to bite.
That's right.
There's been too many times where I pull everything up and go look, and then it's jackpot, and you're on them like hard and heavy. You know, just sitting.
We've seen it. We've seen you do it.
I'll give you.
It's painful. You know, it's painful to me.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little funny thing about that. Now, you're talking about when you're fish, you know, the fish are there. A lot of it goes back to your presentation. You may be anchored, Well, they don't want it anchored. They want it a foot or two off the bottom. It's weird. I've seen it. They may want the bait moving. I've worked on a group of fish for almost 5 hours one day before I could get them to bite. And when I got them to bite, it was a good bag. So
Nice.
I have the tendency, knowing the fish are there, it's just me trying to trick them instead of running down the river looking for something different. I kind of like to hang with them and do different things to them. I've changed the bait to where I went from skipjack to gizzard shad to white bass. Sometimes they just want something different.
Yeah, you got to figure out what they want.
So not necessarily give up on them, and even live bait. It's hard to keep live bait, tournament fishing, but sometimes we can do it. And but that's a good thing to think about when people are, tournament fishing is a little different. We have to catch the fish. When we find a group of fish, we need to make it pay off.
Yeah.
And that's what we search for. But when you're fun fishing, it's a lot less stressful. I can promise you.
I want to give Joe a different perspective. Joe, being a guide, how does side imaging help you out, or do you just have it so in tune that you know where they're going to be?
Yeah, as a fishing guide, I do the old milk run where it's kind of like I'm hitting spots that have produced before. I don't really rely so much on my side imaging. I mean, I do have it, but I would have to really, put a lot of time in trying to find a fish, and I just wouldn't do that so much with clients. But Ray does bring up a good point, and that was actually going to be one of my upgrades.
Well, here we go. Upgrade number one for Joe.
Is presentation of the bait, I feel like, is really important, because sometimes they want it off anchor, other times they want it, suspended, other times they want it dragging. It's just presentation of the bait, I think, is what's going to increase, your bites. And I've had days where it's like I get nothing off anchor, but as soon as I start free lining, I'm catching them. So and then like Ray said as well, the type of bait I think matters. I typically do better with skipjack in the spring and the fall, but I do better with bluegill in the wintertime. And then in the summer, when I'm freeline, I'm usually doing the chicken stuff.
What?
So,
Chicken?
yeah. Yep.
Chicken doesn't work. Come on.
Right. But yeah, it's just being a fishing guide. When you're on a time frame, you have to really, I focus on just putting as much fish in the boat as possible.
Yeah. So you don't really have that time to go scan the water and see where they're at. You just got to rely on the old honey holes.
Not so much honey holes per se, but when you're drifting, like I'm covering so much water, I'll start like, hey guys, we're going to start here and we're going to go down all the way down. And I'm just maybe drifting through bridge pilings, drifting on ledges, drifting close to the bank. And
so where catfish should be.
Yeah. And it's just, you just kind of go off that. And I mean, you got to be able to adapt pretty quick, and not be too one-dimensional. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned just through fishing in general, is always be open-minded and don't be one-dimensional, and change up your tactics if you need to. And
so the presentation of bait is your invention. So like, what helps you? Like, what thing helps you change up your presentation?
I don't know. Like, it really just depends on, like, if I don't have a fish on, like, this is just me. If I don't have a fish on within 20 minutes, then I'm going to change up my approach. Typically in the summertime, like, I'll anchor right at sunrise. But then once the sun's up, I'll start free lining and pretty much just stay with that until, the fish aren't cooperating on that type of method.
Gotcha.
Maybe you need to explain free lining to some people, because I don't think a lot of people, I know what you're talking about, but maybe people listening
Sure, Ray. Good point. Free lining is when you're not using any sort of weight like lead or sinker. You're just strictly using hook and line, and you really want to be using light tackle on it. I tell folks anything over 10 pounds, 10-pound line is not going to have that good of a presentation. I usually use 10-pound mono with a 20-pound leader. No weight, no sinker, and I'll put on chicken or
So
I
you'll
can
run a
fillet.
swivel then, just one swivel?
I do run a swivel, yes, because I got to tie that leader on.
Yeah.
And I'll use chicken. I can free line, skipjack, bluegill. But when you start using like those type of baits, you can't really use chunks. Chunks kind of have a they're not as buoyant in a way. They're not as aerodynamic as I kind of say. You want to have something that kind of has a very natural fluttery effect
Got you.
in the water. But yeah, I mean, it's, as I tell people, the lighter the line you're using, the more bites you're really going to get. Just because I feel like fish can be line shy. And some people may disagree, but I feel like on the tough days, you know, they can be line shy. And so I've gone all the way down to 6-pound line when going down to catfish. Of course, you have an increase of breaking off fish.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
just
and you
part
got a couple videos like, you know, a couple of your higher viewed videos are those chicken free lining videos, and you've had a couple guests on there that have hooked up with some big fish on that light tackle, and that was insane to watch.
The light tackle I feel like is really more effective during the spawn. So I usually start free lining mid-May. Once the water temperature hits 70, that's what I consider that number where the cats really start, you know, doing their thing. And so once water temperature hits 70 is when I really start bringing out my light tackle rods. And where I usually do it is below Chickamauga Dam, where it's like 8 to 10 feet in the tail race, which is perfect depth to be doing your free lining.
Gotcha.
But I've done it all the way down to like 30, 40 feet. You just got to let out more line. And you got to have current. You know, current is probably the biggest thing I feel like with the free lining. So if you got good, So
one of the things people probably are not understanding what he's talking about by the line is because of where he's fishing, the clarity of the water. The water is really, really clear, and you know, fish can see. I know people think you only catch catfish in 70, 80 foot of water, but you know, where he's fishing at, it's rocky. What kind of swivels do you use? Do you use a ball bearing?
Yeah, it's just a basic swivel with 2 loops on each end, and I try not. I try not to use a too big of a swivel or a barrel swivel, but just a standard barrel swivel.
Well, that's cool. I'm gonna go ahead and move us on so we don't get bogged down. But
sure.
I love that. So we got side imaging, fish presentation, which free lining is awesome. And guys, go check that out on Joe's channel. He actually just did a video with another YouTuber, and they free line chicken, and they had some good channel cat hookups and stuff. Go check that out. Let's move on to the Catfish King here, and let's see what he's got to give.
Yes. Hey, we all have to.
Well, what's up, Alex? Tell us what your first one is.
Oh wow, those are hard to follow up with.
They're good ones.
Those are good ones. You know, I'm gonna kind of start getting out of the boat and out of the water for something that a lot of people might think this is crazy, but you know, pulling trailers, whether it's this trailer or a boat trailer or a car trailer or whatever, but I pull a lot of trailers. I mean, pretty much I'm pulling a trailer if I'm driving a vehicle, you know?
Wow.
So last year I came upon a product called Hypertech, and I got it actually. If you can see some numbers on there. So the cool thing about this is it tells you you got the new caps for your tires. You screw them on. It Bluetooths here. It's got solar. I throw it up on my dash, and I know what my tire pressure is, my axle temperature as I'm driving down the road if I'm going 10, 12 hours. And it's saved me a few times for sure. and a couple other people it's saved that have started using this. So just in the last year, I know it's not really fishing related.
No, it really is. No,
if you
keep
pull
going.
a trailer, this is, like I said, been, and it's showing you right now what my tire pressure is. And until you do something like this, you don't realize how much tire pressure can vary, from, the time of day, all that. But it literally going down the road, you can look at it, monitor your stuff. As a tournament director, with as many trucks and trailers coming, there's so many. I mean, literally every tournament, there's an accident where they blew a tire, things like that. So this is something, I think I paid $119 from Hypertech. And I'm very impressed with it. And
so the caps, that's what changes on your tire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazon.
It's this device with the charger, but I don't even charge it. I haven't charged it yet. I throw it up on the dash for solar, and then it's got 4 caps. It explains, which tire is which, all that, and it is, like I said.
I've never heard of anything.
Good?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Where'd you get it from? Amazon? Where are you getting it from?
They have it on Amazon, or you can go to hypertech.com, and they do a lot of other like truck accessories and stuff like that. But actually, a bass fisherman had shared it somewhere on Facebook, and then when I seen it, I thought in my head, man, that could save me. And then actually, one of my tournament partners, when we were going to Louisiana for the Cabela's King Cat last year, we hooked it up on his trailer, and he had one tire that was 22 pounds. And I'm like,
what?
So, you just kind of get in a hurry sometimes. You get off work and you got to go fast. And it's like, sometimes you don't check on your tires, and that can really ruin your day if you've ever had a blown trailer tire.
Well, Alex, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at my trailer and I'm like, that tire looks a little low. But, I don't check it because I'm not in danger at that point. but if I had something like that, I could know for sure all the time.
And for, like I said, for $119, it also has it somehow does the axle temperature. It must be coming off the hub, and it'll show you, and it has warnings. So if it hits a certain temperature, it'll beep at you. So if your hub's about to go out, you got bearing issues, all that, you're gonna know that before it happens with this system.
So you can pull over,
go out and check it out.
Yeah.
Say that again, Chris.
We had a bearing go out on a trip to a tournament, and the thing caught on fire. I mean, we were on fire. I had to get the extinguisher out, and put the tire out.
Yeah,
that would have saved us right there.
Yeah, that could have saved you. Could have saved you some money and a lot of time.
Wow, man!
I'm ordering one now. I promise you, we've got to go. We've got a lot of trips back to back to back, and there's no way you can keep up with. And that's going to be awesome. That's going to save us.
You kind of travel just as much as Alex does. You travel all across the country.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we shoot to Texas. We'll leave. We'll go up there to Cape. We'll come back, go to Ohio. From Ohio down to Helena. It's everywhere we go is around 5 hours. It's just an average, and 5 hours pulling a trailer. It's a lot.
Yeah, man, definitely. Alex, man, that's an awesome one, man. Alex pulling out the big guns. That's why he's the king of the catfish. We're just joking, y'all. Alex does not believe that. Just a little disclaimer. All right, well, Ray's kind of spoken on the other ones, but let's go to Ray for his first one. What's your first one, Ray?
He is the king of catfishing. What are you talking about? I try to get his autograph all the time.
I think about it all the time, but I'm just saying he doesn't think that. I don't want people to think.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows.
Go for it.
There's several things. Our boats have come a long way. That's probably what I want to touch on. For the tournament fishermen, we've actually got a way for, like Alex. They say they do a live well check, and in some of the tournaments we go to, they're looking at the size of the live well.
Oh yeah.
And where we put oxygen in, we used to take care of the fish. We didn't have all of the stuff that we have, like the oxygen and so on and so forth. So I would say our boats and our live wells.
Yeah, definitely those live wells. I mean, I haven't been to too many tournaments, but the ones I've been to, I've noticed that people are graduating from the converted 180 quart cooler with the, the sprayers and all that, the homemade stuff, and they're getting these boats that have them built in. Ray, I know that you run a Sea Arc, and that's just one example of a boat that comes with a big live well. And I've even seen people on YouTube videos and Facebook videos where they get in those live wells. Can you fit in your live well, Ray?
No, but my kids do.
Oh, okay.
They don't like swimming in lakes, so I just turn it on and let them get in it, and they just have a big time.
I just saw a video. I think it was a picture or video of the catfishing duo, and she was sitting in there, and she had their kids in there, and they were having a grand old time in that live well.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like I said, it's these boat manufacturers. If we keep talking to them, you can call Sea Arc. They're pretty easy to talk to. They've got a great pro staff. I think Alex is one of them. If you see him, if you think of something to help us, that's what they're looking for, and they're really open minded, and they'll pretty much do. They won't tell you no. I promise you that. So, and like I said, that's our whole industry has come. You got to understand. I've been doing it a long time, and there's so many to our tackle. You said 5. I could tell you 50.
Yeah, slow down. Don't give them away yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch, but that's a great one, man. Adding those oxygen tanks in there, and really, the oxygen's great, but those tanks are so advanced now that they're recirculating water all the time and bringing in new water to refresh the old stuff. So, oxygen is just that level up, but even just that.
Well, some of the things that I've noticed in my fish is that, like on the slow current days, the fish have a tendency to be a little red, and I could get them in that live well and turn them back to their normal color. So I feel like that there may be oxygen deprived. I'm not that smart to know, but I know there's something going on.
Gotcha.
Where the fish are have a little red tint to them. You put them in the live well, and you keep them in there for a couple of hours, and they look totally different.
Yeah.
So but you got to go to someone smarter than me. I can just catch them a little every once in a while.
Catfish scientist.
Yes, that's what we need to work on.
Cool. Well, let's get back to Chris here. It looks like he's got his Action Jackson. What's up, Action Jackson?
Come on, say hello.
That's Chris's little boy.
Guys.
He that's the Catfish King right there. All right, Chris, number 2. What's your number 2?
My number 2, probably what's changed my dragging the most is probably iPilot Link. It's probably helped me for bait quite a bit as well, but the iPilot Link, being able to use that graph and find your fish and pin where the fish are, oriented to the structure, laying out a drag route, and being able to hit those with precision is probably up to my big fish game tenfold, in the last 12 years or so. I would say iPilot Link.
Baby shark.
Texas Tornado, guys.
Yeah, man.
Yep. The trolling motors have made a big difference. I can tell you that also. Where we used to anchor, I don't even pull my anchor out anymore. And Alex fishing on the Mississippi like he does, he can tell you what they do. What's it changed on your game, Alex?
Oh, a lot. It's night and day. It's you can really pinpoint certain structures, certain ledges, really lock on to, especially in a big body of water. If you're not fishing where the fish are at, catch a big fish.
Yeah. And I just started, it's a little harder spot locking my boat. I think I need like a 400-pound thrust trolling motor, but those of you who don't know, I fish out of a pontoon boat. So, I've just started using that spot lock, and it's changed. It makes the decision for me sometimes whether or not I'm going to stay in a spot or I'm going to move. Because if I'm in a spot and I'm anchored down and I'm in heavy current, I got to pull that anchor. And when you're by yourself trying to pull an anchor in heavy current, dragging that boat, trying to manipulate the trolling motor and hold the anchor in the other hand, that's tough. when with spot lock, you can just hit a button and pull the trolling motor in and get on to the next spot.
Well, not only that, when you're suspending, when you suspend baits, you can jog your boat left to right, forward and backwards. You may have missed the tree where you was targeting the fish. You can move over 5 foot. If you're anchored, if you're with a rope, you can't do that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris. Did you want to finish up your?
I got sidetracked with the tornado.
That's all right.
Tornado, man. No. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's iPilot Link is, if you've used it, it's a game changer with the way you fish, especially for dragging. Just getting bait, being able to get over the top of it, and throw your net with precision. It helps with your bait game, but it helps really with that dragging game. It's changed the way we drag.
Yeah.
The precision, the way, being able to hit exactly what you've found on sonar.
Yeah.
Targeting the structure in a specific type of way. If they're on the ledge, or you can lock onto a ledge and just drag the ledge, or you can hit a hump if they're oriented to a certain way on the hump. Or in the winter, we drag the channel a lot, so you can hit that channel and you can hit every bend in that channel and all those little sweet spots, where those big fish tend to hang out. So
right.
It's
another thing,
a huge game changer for us.
Yeah. For people who are new to like talking about spot lock, what we're talking about is the trolling motors now have an iPilot or some kind of GPS system inside the trolling motor, and all you have to do on your remote is hit an anchor button, and it'll keep you within 3 foot. I say mine keeps me within 6 foot. Mine hates me, but most of them keep you within 3 foot of where you press that button. In heavy current, it's going to hold you pretty much to that 3 foot. If you're brim fishing and you don't have any current or whatever, it might vary a little bit. But you hit that button and the GPS locks you right in position. I can imagine Joe uses it a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but you probably don't want your clients pulling anchors for you, do you?
Sometimes. But you're right. The iPilot has definitely been a big game changer because you don't have to throw your anchor out. But I only use a 12-volt trolling motor. So, but what's really helped me with it is when you have a very strong south wind that is stronger than what the current's doing, and I've been able to spot lock or hold my boat a lot better, especially when I'm anchor fishing, when Mother Nature kind of spits you in the face.
I've been using a drift sock in addition to a trolling motor when you have the wind blowing from the south, but the current's coming from the north. It kind of helps.
Yeah, now it's going to be like my number 3 or 4.
Well, there you go. See, that's twice we've done that, Joe. We're a good team, man.
We are.
We're just like threading that line.
We're educators, man. Great minds think alike.
Segue. Go ahead. Next invention.
Yes, but the drift sock for sure is one thing that will really help you on the windy days, and it even helps keep your boat more straight. And so I've definitely would recommend that for any serious fisherman, because you can't control what the weather is going to do. So you want to make sure you have something that you can really rely on.
Yeah, a lot of guys use a lot of people use drift socks in lakes mostly because you're at the mercy of the wind, and
sure,
and basically they're blowing the boat, the wind's blowing the boat, and you want to slow down your drift, or if you're troll or dragging baits, you want to slow that down so that the fish can keep up with your bait. River people use it just like we just talked about. When you have a slow flow and you have wind that's opposing the current direction, putting that drift sock in the water it's basically a drift sock is a funnel, and that's all it is. It's a fabric funnel that you tie to the back of your boat, and it gathers all the water it can. They have small ones, little 4 feet drift socks, all the way up to, I use 2 10-foot drift socks on the lake to slow my boat down. But that funnel just catches all that water, and it'll point the back of your boat in the direction it needs to go.
Correct.
One thing we need to talk about, since we're talking about drift socks, Drift sock safety. Always keep a knife near that sock just in case if something was to happen and you start taking on water, you need to cut the sock. Don't try to move the boat. Cut the sock loose because we had one turnover at Santee. The guy and I actually turned the boat over the same way. I thought I would maneuver the boat out of, turn the boat a little. Them are sea anchors. They will pull you down and it'll pull your boat. I don't care what size boat you have, it'll pull it. Especially with Kevin, if you was to take off with yours, them 10-footers, you can't move your boat, can you?
Not very fast.
Yeah. I mean, so you got to be real careful. Always keep a sharp knife to cut that. What's a sock cost? $30, $40?
A small one, yeah.
Yeah, small one's like 25, something like that.
Yeah, the big Easterland 10-footers are about 140.
$140 is a lot cheaper than someone,
that's right,
losing everything you have, and that was unfortunate at Santee. It was in the wintertime, wasn't it? Where was that at?
It's happened so many times, but yeah, I think the most recent one was either late winter or early spring.
Yeah,
the wind kicked up, and you went to go turn your boat around, and that especially if you have a boat that has a plug, my pontoon boat doesn't have a plug, but if you have a boat with a plug and you put that engine in gear, that sock's going to dig in and pull the corner of your boat under the water. And then that's what he's saying. You need that knife just to cut it, because the drift socks they kind of have a another line on it where you can pull from the back of the sock. That's how you get them in. If you try to pull on it forward, remember it's a funnel and it's gathering water. And if you're panicked, you're not gonna be able to think through that. So that's a great tip, Ray. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, and we talked about the size of the boat. I think that boat was 26 or 28 foot center console that got turned over. So, we're most average people, I would say, are in the 20-foot range, but a 26-foot glass boat, it's pretty hard to turn over.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was belly up when we got to him.
Yep.
So
cool. Well, I think Alex is next. Alex, you're number 2.
Okay, we'll get back to the catfishing side of things.
All right.
So, with my trail and just buddies with some of the guys, that I fish with, about 2 years ago, some of the best anglers in my series started crimping, and I kind of made fun of them. I said, "That's silly. I would never do that. You're gonna lose fish." And then they kept doing well in tournaments, and then finally, I was at their house one night and we did some tests. We crimped and put some safety glasses on and some leather gloves. We were hooking like the tractor bucket and yanking on it, and it would never break at the crimp. So I was sold. And the other thing that sold me on that is, when you tie like 80-pound mono, you kind of always get that memory no matter what knot you do.
Yeah.
So with crimping, you don't get that. And now I've been using it for 2 years and very well success. I'm not going back. So pretty much the only knot that I tie now is my braid to my mono, and then other than that, it's all crimp, and then I'll snell my hook. I got one here. So as you can see, I snell the hook. Here I've got a world famous Demon Dragon, signed by the one and only
Ray Fergie.
Ray.
There you go.
I'm saving this for next weekend when I'm fishing against them.
Oh yeah.
So, and then I'll just show you real quick. All right, I got it out here. I got it ready. So it's gonna be tough to see on camera, but you got different size crimps, obviously. So it's a high seas crimp. You go in, and then to whatever swivel you're using. In this case, I'm using a ball chain swivel.
Alex, why are ball chain swivels so expensive?
Because they're just hard to get.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the main.
I got the new Brute Demon Dragons, and I've been tying on ball chain swivels with them because I'm using bigger baits with those, and so they tend to spin a little bit more. So I put them ball chain swivels so they don't spin as much, or they don't twist up my line.
Yeah, that's why
I went to go buy a pack, and I'm like, holy moly!
Everything's expensive now. It seems like, right?
That's true. Anybody else use crimping on the panel? Do you crimp your stuff? No.
That's the easy way out.
Look. That's how you become the king
Ooh.
of catfish.
Yeah, that's the easy way out. I've been crimping ever since. I could never get my 100-pound line. It's really hard to try and tie a knot with a 100-pound line.
Yeah.
So we just started crimping. I'm from Augusta, Georgia, close to the ocean. And I knew about crimps, and I was like, man, let's just crimp this stuff. And we had a lot of fun with it. It's easy. And like I said, he's letting the secrets out.
Yeah. So
There it is.
Once you run it through like that, I just always just burn the tip to kind of get that.
Fancy.
If you can see much, then just pull it. So see how clean that looks.
So you don't even cut it. You burn.
Well, I mean, all you do is you cut the line.
Yeah.
Then you run it through the crimp, and then you got your crimpers.
Oh, I see.
He's burning the end of the line.
To keep it from falling out. Yeah, I got you.
He's burning the end of that line so that it doesn't pull back through. It's another safety precaution.
So then it's kind of matching there. Is that better?
Yeah. Just remember opposite the way you want it to go.
I don't do all this YouTube stuff, but so like I said, I've been using this now for 2 years. I was very hesitant, and this is all I'll use because a lot of the times in previous years when I'm breaking, not that you break a lot, especially when you're using 80, but it's always breaking at that knot that you tie. It's got that line memory when you're pulling it. You know what I mean? So this just gives it a nice, clean factory look. This is pretty much my rig here.
Yeah. I like so hey, while you have that up there, it's been a debate between me, not an argument, but a debate between me and a couple people. With those demon dragons, do you run it through the demon dragon? I already know the answer, but
you already know the answer. So
yeah,
this is just like I said, I don't know that there is any right way to do it, but this is how I do it. I go in the back.
No, you're doing it the right way.
And I go through the middle twice. So if you really need to move it, you kind of got to, move your line a little bit, but there it's stationary. So I didn't want to have 2 more knots or 2 more crimps. So then I got a bunch of stuff going on. So now this is one line from my hook.
Yep.
From my hook to my swivel, to my bolt chain. And then I do another line to my clip, which is another thing I'll show you in my third one. But like I said, crimping has just made things easy. My hands don't hurt all the time. And it looks clean and it works. And I believe I have less break-offs because that one spot where you're breaking, is that mono that when you're doing 80 and you're clenching it tight, and it kind of looks like it has that line memory.
Yeah.
This don't have it. So this is definitely something in the last 2 years that's changed my game quite a bit.
I think you probably convinced a couple people in chat to do that. But yeah, it's not a tip show, but that demon dragon thing, I like to do it the way Alex does it because let's say that you want to shift up tactics and you don't have a billion rods pre-rigged. You can take that demon dragon and slide it up to the swivel and you can suspend baits then with that, even with the or a float, demon dragon or a float.
And I don't think it's wrong either way you do it. That's just how I think it's the best for for my presentation.
Yeah. That's a good one. Crimp. So what size crimps do you use? Or the
So I just use 2 crimps for my bumping line. I'll crimp, 30-pound mono. But on high seas are the ones I bought. Now, one thing that Jake Derhockey and Wade Kaminsky were telling me about, they did a lot of testing in the beginning. And they did have some issues with like some off-brand cheaper stuff. Even when it came down to the crimps themselves. So they use high seas crimps and a Jinko crimper that you can get on Amazon. I think the crimper was like $70. The crimps are super, super cheap for like $500 in a pack. But now it's just so much. I'll never tie another knot unless I have to. And then, I pre-rig a lot before. So when I go out, there's no tying knots. Yeah. The stuff looks good, looks like factory. But like I said earlier, I was like, this something looks like you're buying from, some kid just made this and just to make it look cool and easy. But, now I understand why, there's importance of crimping.
Yeah,
they do that offshore,
Yeah. Offshore guys do it. I got a question from the chat. I think I know the answer, but I want you to let everybody know, why don't you crimp the hook on instead of snelling?
There's no reason you can't crimp, but I always snell, and I don't know. I have a thing that, it's always that hook's always going to turn.
The trigger effect.
Yep. You know what I mean?
Somebody said it
when I'm out there fishing against Ray Ferguson, I need everything to work. Okay. So that's why, but you could, and it could be effective too. This is just how I've always done it for 10 years, and it just works. So like I said, I keep things as simple as possible. Sometimes I get a little crazy and I might have 2 floats and some beads and this and that, but for the most part, this is perfect. You know what I mean? Demon Dragon with or without, but the crimping, just like I said, makes things smooth.
Gotcha. Good tip. All right, Ray. Speaking of Ray.
Well, what I'd like for him to do really is, if he could get close to the video, and I know he can do it, is actually show people the proper way to crimp. Because my main thing is when I talk to people and they talk to me about crimping, you never have the tools there to show them. But I see people crimping the wrong way. Like they'll take a pair of pliers and try to smash the wire down, but that crimp is actually set up a certain way to where it closes. Can you show them that, Alex? Do you have one?
Yeah.
Because that's really the key. And what I also like what Alex is doing is burning the monofilament. When you burn that monofilament, it also gives you a little secondary where it has to break the melted to pull through. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Is that your thinking?
Yep.
Go to your right. There you go.
That's very important how that looks, because that's the proper way to crimp.
Yeah, you can only crimp one way. The other way is not going to work.
Yeah. But people don't know that, Alex.
You got to get crimpers.
Yes.
And not use pliers.
Not just wire pliers.
So this is a Jinko crimper that I got on Amazon, and it's got 3 different sizes. It can even cut your line. This is a cool tool to have on the boat. But like I said, it's got 3 different sizes depending on what crimp you're using. The one that I'm using is the one in the middle. And that's for, I think, 65 to 80. But High Seas has a graph to show you. But like I said, there's only one way. If you crimp it the wrong way, it's not going to work. But if you have questions and you're not 100% sure, ask somebody.
Yeah, don't do it the wrong way. All right, Ray, what's your I think it's number 2 or number 3? I lost track. Number 2.
I don't know. I was going to go with the live scope.
Okay.
Your live scope, it kind of goes back to bait fishing. And what I've learned with my live scope is that catfish are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. I'm fishing the Tennessee River, and I do a lot of suspend fishing. And I can focus on the bait and look at the structure, get close to the structure, and watch the fish come up, look at it, and go up and look at my lead, and then swim away. And that's where I've really changed my tactics on the presentation, because I'm seeing that the fish are getting a little bit, we're talking fishing 60 to 80 foot of water. They shouldn't be scared of anything. And while they're swimming up, looking at my lead, I've not figured that out yet, though. And we've got a 3-foot leader, but those fish they're a lot smarter than we're giving them credit for. So, and that's helped me tremendously. Is my live scope.
So live scope is kind of like that next step up from like side scan. You still need the side scan, but when you get on the fish, when you've located where they're at, what are you using live scope to determine?
I could get where you
don't run down the river with live scope in the water.
No.
You use your transducers and your side scan, your sonar, and then once you get to an area that you think you want to fish, use the live scope. How does that help you in that when you get to that point?
All right, so when I'm suspended and I'm looking, say we're going to fish a brush pile or a tree, I can get really close to that tree without being tangled up. Where before you think the tree is here, so you move over a little bit, you move over a little bit more, and boom, you're in the tree. Now I can stay out of that tree.
Okay.
So, and that also helps you from going in and tearing up, all your lures and stuff. It's a time saver, and like I said, it works. If you don't have one, you need to get with someone and let them show you, because I promise you, guys using live scope, it's a game changer.
Ray, I need you to sponsor me. Ray, I need you to sponsor me for live scope.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the side imaging. We talked about that a little bit, the side imaging, and I kind of got lost. To tell you how long I've been using graphs, they were all black and white, and we went from a flasher, and it's like I said, when it went to color, it helped me, and then we went to the live views. I kind of got lost because I went from fishing structure to seeing there was a tree there that I used to think was a big school of fish, and there was a big school of fish on them, and really it was just structure. And then I'm trying to look for the fish. I'm like, and I don't see them, and I just keep moving.
Gotcha.
And then when I got to my live scope, I started changing things up. So
yeah, I've heard lots of great things about that live scope, especially for crappie fishing. I think more than I think maybe catfishing and bass fishing kind of take a second to the crappie fishermen. They love it. They love using that live scope.
Well, you know how hard crappie are to catch, right? You can just go catch crappie anywhere you go. Isn't that what they say? These catfish are real.
That's what they say about catfish.
Yeah, these catfish are dumb, I promise you. But we, like I said, that live scope makes a major, major difference.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Chris, number 3.
Number 3 for me is definitely planer boards.
Okay.
We've been planer boarding for about almost 8 years now, and before that, we were just kind of fish dumb. We just took just kind of how the wind took us, but when you incorporate the graph and the iPilot link and the planer boards, it allows you to target certain pieces of structure a completely different kind of way. For big fish here in Texas, our big fish season's in the winter, so we're out in the channel a lot. It'll allow you to put your long lines in the channel, and you can put your planer boards up on the edges or on the ledges. If you're fishing a shoreline contour, you can put planer boards up on the shallow flat. You can put your long lines on the ledge, and then you can run your planer boards at the bottom of the ledge. If you're fishing a point in the spring, we can face into the wind, point our boat into the wind, drag out onto the point, put baits out on the ledges on each edge, and drag straight out onto the point. When you get over fish, you can spot lock on them, or you can use that you can slow down and use that cruise control and stay right on top of the fish. But definitely the planer boards have changed, I think, catfishing quite a bit for a lot of guys. I know they've gotten really popular in the last 3 or 4 years, but we've been using them for a while. And
I just started using them last year, so I never knew what a planer board was until last year.
I think when you're in if you're in shallow water out to about 25 feet, but big fish tend to be boat shy. They know when you're coming over them. They can sense. I don't know if it's the trolling motor they sense or what, but you can see it pushed out to the sides of the boat, and you can tell which planer board's about to go off. You'll see a lot of times when we're fishing, I'll say, the outside planer board, there's a 25 pounder. It's about to, if it's going to go down, it's going to be that one. And then bang, it'll go down. I think having those, being able to target the sweet spots, when you're planning out your drag, you can get your line. You can have some that are going to hit the bottom of a point, some that are going to hit the channel that's right next to the point, and then you can put some up on the flat. And by doing that, it gives you a lot more opportunities to get those bigger fish.
It's kind of replaced. If anybody who's new and doesn't really understand a planer board, if you ever seen a boat with downriggers on it, the big poles that go out next to the boat. I know Casey Nelms, Ray and I fished with Casey Nelms. He invented the Santee Cooper drift rig, and he still fishes without riggers or down riggers, whatever you call them. But the planer board is, and unless you got anyone's got one to show, it's basically a disc with a float on the top and a couple clips. It clips to your line, and the resistance of the water to that board pushes it out away from the boat. And that's what Chris is saying, is that you get those fish that you otherwise wouldn't have a chance to get because your baits are being pulled out from the boat. And then when that fish hits, of course, you know the planer board can go under sometimes, and you'll see it shake.
Well, I'd like to say that like where he's talking about the wind's blowing real bad and you get out of position, you could change your position. Say you was trying to target a certain spot and your boat gets off track, you can let a little bit of line out and still hit that same spot with that planer board. Where before we didn't have a choice, we was just dragging directly behind the boat. So it gives you a little advantages on everything.
Yeah, over time you realize which little spots are the sweet spots where you're going to have a better chance of getting a big one. And, you'll see us when we're fishing. I'll say, okay, guys, we're coming up on this point, and I got this outside planer board. It's going to hit the bottom of this point. So, if we're going to get a big one, it's going to be on that one. And then it'll be about, it'll be about 2 minutes before we hit that point. And then bang, 2 minutes, that big one's going down on that outside planer where it's hitting that point. And it's cool to be able to specifically target those things. Normally you wouldn't be able to hit with just dragging. You just kind of got to hope you get close to some of them previously, but now it's become more of a precision type of game. Instead of just hoping you might get one on this certain drift, now you might be able to get 5 on the same drift, or, it's not drifting really, it's dragging, because it's more of a precision game now. It's a lot of guys still drift with the wind and you can catch fish that way, but we always drag, and it's more we're hitting specific things.
Yeah, it's harder to use planer boards when you're drifting with the wind than it is dragging them, but it can work. It can work. Alex, did you have one to show off?
I did, and that was going to be one of my big things. But and Chris, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about that. But so about 7-8 years ago, at one of the first Sea Arc tournaments that I fished with a guy I met at Montezani, Ohio, back when I started. Like one of the first Montezani, Ohio. So he brought these actually specifically offshore planer board.
Offshore planer board.
And I said, "What in the world is that?" I had never seen one, never heard of it. And
guys used to laugh at us, man.
Yeah, and I remember. So it was that tournament, and a lot of people were suspend drifting, in Lake Wheeler. And he said, let's just do this. We're gonna do it like we did, because he's from up in northern Illinois. I'm like, whatever. I'm kind of new into the catfishing at this point. He's done the catfishing, he's done walleye, but he wanted to try this, so he brought him down, and we were, just like what Chris was saying. And I could add so much. We could talk all night about planer boards. Planer boards have put a lot of fish in my boat and gave me a lot of checks at tournaments. And for multiple reasons, like you said, when you get that bait, because if you're just dragging with no planer boards, you don't have maybe a 20-foot spread if you're lucky. A planer board, if you don't know where those fish are being aggressive at, you can run the ledge and have long lines on the ledge, and you have planer board out deep, planer board up shallow, and cover everything, and then learn, okay, the fish are shallow, let's move everything up shallow. Rough water like Lake Wheeler can get, I believe that when you've got that rod way up in the air and the boats are rocking and that line's kind of jerking a lot, if you take that line and then this is kind of your hinge point, your middle point, and then this is in the water, it seems to me like it'll kind of help give more of a presentation and a shock.
Yeah,
so you have more of that natural presentation, and there's times where we catch more fish. There's been times we catch all of our fish, like in really crappy, rough days, on planer boards, and that's what we truly. Planer boards have changed how I fish. Changed, like I said, if you don't use a planer board, dragging, which another technique I do is on the Mississippi River. same thing, act like you're dragging baits. But if I'm bumping down the river and I'll put, instead of a dead stick just straight down, I'll put a planer board out and kick that 10, 15 feet off the boat with a heavy weight, just so I'm dead sticking, but 15 feet away from my boat using a planer board, sort of. So then you're just covering more ground as you go.
Whew, that would make me anxious. On the Mississippi,
it's a lot going
with
on.
all that going on.
It's a lot going on. You got to make sure if you get hung up, it can get nasty quick.
Well, speaking of, go ahead.
It's definitely more of a technical type of fishing. You guys are like, damn, Chris, you got a lot going on the boat. But man, it's worth it when you're consistently getting your big fish up. You're going from 1 or 2 up to now you're getting 10. It's a big payoff. I mean, it's a lot of work, but the payoff can be huge. You're just able to hit so many more of those little sweet spots along your little route that you would have never been able to hit just dragging.
You catch fish you never would have caught, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I would have to agree with him. If you ever fish a tournament and Kevin Parks is around, he makes Parks planer boards. I promise you he'll be in the top 5. And
those are the ones I use.
Yeah. Parks is a good board. And he's got multiple boards. He's got them.
I use them all.
I think he's got some that's holding almost 16 ounces.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's got some boards that hold 16 ounces.
And then we use one that's his river board. I like that river board for big water days. They use what's called a tournament clip where it locks onto the line, but I like to use that Scotty clip so I can pop that board off. Yeah. I'll go back if I break off, but guys like in tournaments, if they get hung up, they want to be able to get all of it back without having to go back.
Yeah, that's me right there.
I don't care. I'll let that thing float, and if I lose it, catfish is expensive.
He keeps making them.
I'll go
planer boards are expensive. I will tell people who've never bought one, they can get expensive. So that's why I like to not lose them.
What I always tell
planer boards go. Parks are fairly inexpensive compared to some of these others. I mean, $50 a set. It's not cheap, but it's. I
want to move on to Joe so we can get our number 3 from Joe. What's your number 3, Joe?
Probably rattles.
Okay.
Using rattles. I mean, I've, started using the Demon Dragon probably 4 years ago. And then I know now you can actually just buy the rattles itself that you can kind of just place right above the hook. But it's really increased my flatheads, catching the flatheads. I've noticed I've noticed a big just difference between that from the blues to the flats. That when I'm using Demon Dragons or any sort of rattle, I've caught more flatheads on them. And I think just because maybe the flatheads prefer more of a distressed bait in the water, since they're more of a predatory type fish, that may, I think that helps increase your chance or probability of getting a flathead. So I would definitely say the rattles, Demon Dragons, have really increased my hookup ratios with the flats.
Yeah, I've noticed I learned a new technique from a guy who's in here, Dave. And I never really thought about a rattle being used this way, but I use Santee Cooper rig for everything, but placing the rattle with it on anchor using live bait. When that live bait's swimming around, it's shaking that rattle. I never really thought about using it that way. I've always thought about using it in current or dragging baits, where you're actively moving.
Sure.
So, you can use it for pretty much everything. And you saying flatheads, I can see a big bluegill on there trying to swim, and that rattle's just going crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's just like I said 4 years ago when Demon Dragons first became a thing. And Demon Dragons used to be owned by Scott Manning. I think he was kind of one of the earlier pioneers of the Demon Dragon. And like I said, it's usually used kind of with the Santee rig type thing because it floats off the bottom. But I really do think there's something to the rattle and increasing your bite hookup
Yeah,
ratio.
a lot of people will argue and they'll say, you know, it doesn't matter. It's more for the fishermen, whatever. But why not have another sensory source down there to tap into? You know, you have the smell, you have the vibration, and then you have the sound going.
Kevin,
It can't hurt
listen,
you that much.
if you listen to a sound of a bait fish in distress, it sounds just like a rattle underwater. If you hear a recording, you go on the internet and go find a recording of bait fish in distress. It's going to sound just like that rattle getting rattled. And I mean, of course, a catfish is going to want to be interested in, you know, something predating on some type of bait fish. They're going to be, that's basically that's their dinner bell. You know, I mean,
Sure. I 100% agree. Yeah, I 100% agree with Chris. Like, I do believe the rattle does kind of promote more of that bait being in distress, even though it is cut bait you may be using. It's dead, but it does still entice a catfish to take it. Not all the time, but I mean, like I said, I've seen it more with the flatheads more than the blues. So I do think there's something to it.
I agree, and Livingston Lures actually came out with you know, some catfish models of demon dragons, or you know, the floats that when they hit the water they even create a noise, you know, when that touches the battery or whatever. But you know,
Alex, you're not supposed to talk about those, man. You're not supposed to give that secret up, buddy.
You know,
yeah, he's been holding on to it. He's been holding on to it for a while. I know.
So you know.
So let's hear it, Alex. Bring it.
No, I was just going to hit on the point, you know, sometimes we make fun of each other, or people, you know, say, well, you know, they got this because it looks good for the fishermen, or whether it's a hat or whatever. Well, I'm going to tell you something. As a tournament angler and director, I was embarrassed until it put fish in the boat, but I just spent like over $80 on demon dragons because that's how much I believe in them. And not that they are always going to work, but I think that noise can help, at least if there's a fish there and they're not hungry, maybe prevent a strike bite. Yeah. You know, so then maybe, I mean, that's why I use them. And I truly do believe that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it helps draw them in a little bit. You know, the bait is it's like the dinner call. You know, the bait's going to get them they're going to go after the bait, but you know, the rattle, it may draw a fish in that may have not been so excited to come over there, but he's like, well, hey, what's that bait fish getting hammered over there? Maybe I'll go check it out. And, you know, it's been too many times where the guy next to me is fishing the same bait and the same rigs, but no rattle. And he's like, damn, you're just hammering these big fish. What's going on? I'm not getting any. I'm like, well, you might want to put some rattles.
www.demondragons.com. No, but
all right.
Yeah,
all right.
I never really got into the rattles as much because I just used the float and I didn't know any better. But you know, the more fish you catch on them, as opposed to another like using just a float, even a float with a Versa rattle on it, you know, it makes more of a believer out of you, and you're okay with investing that money. I will tell you though, and I joke with Jeremy from Tackle Bandit all the time. I said it hurts when you lose them.
Are you?
It hurts so bad.
I seriously, I got like 4 packs for $80 or something. Now these are the giant ones, which I'm kind of excited to use. These things are massive, and
I call those the baby rattles.
Yeah, those are crazy. Nice this winter.
So I did want to say though too.
Here's the difference.
I did want to say that the demon dragons, or like any rattle, for me personally, works better when there's current. Because you really want that vibration in the water that will hopefully entice a bite. Now I got to go here, guys. Actually, but I'm going to give you my number 4 and 5.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you.
Number 4 for me would probably be circle hooks. I know most people now have been using the circle hooks, but I do firmly believe that like that has been a big game changer for me. When I really first started getting into the catfishing, I used to use Kale hooks. But the circle hooks, especially when they're offset, if it's an offset circle hook, I noticed you don't have to really set the hook. You just kind of reel into them. And, but like I picked the offset part off of Steve Douglas, because I remember when circle hooks really became a thing, a lot of them weren't really offset. So I think the offset and the circle hook was definitely a game changer for me. And then my fifth one's going to be having extra trolling motor batteries for the remote, because I've been on the road, and that's just a little personal thing, because I was doing a guide trip one day and I couldn't get my trolling motor on. I thought like something was actually wrong with the trolling motor, but then I tried to turn on the remote and then that wouldn't work, and then I realized, oh, it's just I can't turn it on because my remote's not working. So I do think that having extra spare batteries for the trolling motor remote is just really good to have, because you never know when they're going to clunk out.
Yeah, they go out for sure. One good thing, like a Minn Kota, you can get an app for your phone that'll run your
I had to use that yesterday.
motor, but also if you got iPilot Link, you run it through your graph. So,
yeah, I heard about that, Chris. I have to kind of learn to set that up, I guess. But I did know there was an app that you can have on your phone, and so I'll have to really look into that.
Yeah, we got caught in and I won't keep you, Joe. Just one comment.
I appreciate you guys having me. Kevin, thanks for having me. But I'll holler at you guys later.
Hey, thanks for giving us your family time, man.
We'll see you guys.
Absolutely. See ya.
Later, Joe.
So just a little comment on that one. We got caught in a thunderstorm Friday night, and my trolling motor remote got soaked. Well, we went out Saturday morning and no power on the remote. And so I remembered that app thing on the phone, and that saved the day. I ended up putting the remote out in the sun, and the 98-degree temperature dried it out, and it works fine now. So there's a tip, put the remote in the sun, it'll dry out. But
or don't leave it in the rain, Kevin.
Well, it was strapped to my side. I didn't have a choice.
Hey, I got one for Alex. Alex, when you're using them Demon Dragons, they make different colors. And I know you're thinking I'm crazy, but you can ask Kevin. Different colors work on different days. You'll catch, say, if you got a red or a chartreuse, they're every one of them. That's all the fishing.
I'll tell you, I fished with the little red one. It's not the brute, but the little red hardcore catfishing one. I think they catfish like it because it goes fast in the water. I caught like 3 or 4 fish on that. They wouldn't hit anything else but that little red one. It was my little sports car Demon Dragon.
Yeah.
They tend to like to choose one rig on the boat for whatever day. I mean, if you're going to catch 10 fish, 5 of them will come off one rig, one certain bait, one way you got it set up different a little bit than the rest. I mean,
cool. Well, let's comment on Joe's 4 and 5 real quick, and then we'll move on. So circle hooks. I've seen a lot of people put that in the chat. What's your thoughts on that? We'll start with Alex.
Yeah, I've been using actually back to Seth McAllister. He was my partner kind of back when I first got into this, and he was always using. Not that I'm because I own the company, because there's a lot of great circle hooks out there, but he was using an 8/0 Rippin lips, and that's all I've used since day one. And I think that offset is important. And then for me, sharpness and all that. Like I said, circle hooks, there's a ton of great ones out there, but that's all I use. I don't try anything different. Like I said, I try to keep things simple that work, and I adjust, very small, minute things that can change it. But other than that, I like to keep things simple.
Yeah. So you never had, you didn't get into catfishing when there weren't circle hooks. I'm probably Ray can be the only one, is old enough that can tell us about.
He was back. They were using those,
back in the 40s.
Wooden.
We all used to
use bone.
Yeah, the bone. You was using bone hooks.
Tail hooks is all we used to use.
Kale hooks was it.
Hooks wasn't even a thing, man.
No. Kale hooks is all we had to use. There was nothing else. And, we talk about all these things, and it's changing every day.
Yeah.
I was fishing up in St. Louis. We was using a 6/0 hook. a real small hook. I'm thinking, why are we using this small hook? I'm used to using 12s, 13s, something huge. And he said, and he explained to me, he said it gets into the tissue of the mouth, and versus going through his lips or in through his head sometimes. And he said it works out better. I have a better hookup ratio. And believe it or not, I lost a big fish because I was forcing it. I was pulling too hard, not thinking, hey, I got a small hook on there. Because I'm like Alex, I don't change. I'm using this hook this time every day. We go to a channel cat, it kills me. I'm like, man, I got to take my hook off. But that's basically it. If you find a hook that you like, don't change it.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay with it.
I agree 100%. There's so many hooks coming out, new ones and all that. Like I said, I use an 8/0 offset circle, the Rippin Lips one. There's a ton of great ones out there, and I trust it. I get pictures every day on the Rippin Lips on fish that have been caught, alligator gar. That's just what I trust it. And if you're out there and you trust your gear, that's way better than trying a bunch of new crazy things.
Yeah. Confidence is a big part of it, Alex, for sure. Mm-hmm. Confidence in what you're using, is really a big part of it. If you're not confident in what you're using, it's not going to work very good for you. I don't care what you're using, but as you build confidence in something, it's going to work for you, and you're going to want to stick with that. So, success builds confidence, and you got to have some success with it, whatever you're using. But once you find something that works for you, you want to stick with it and try to,
Yeah, I've only had one bad experience, and I won't name the hook brand because it doesn't matter. But I was using this particular hook, and I was I had a hooked fish on it, and I was reeling it in, and the hook broke in half. I got half, and the catfish got half. And although it was probably my fault, maybe I was pulling the hook out with pliers, and I scratched it or whatever. I couldn't use that hook anymore because it was in my head. So that goes to that confidence thing. It was probably 100% my fault. And I know that to this day, but I can't use that brand because of that happened. So I can speak to that confidence thing wholeheartedly. All right. So what was the other thing he mentioned? He said circle hooks and what else?
Batteries.
Yeah. So we spoke on both of those. All right. Who's next? I think it's Alex is next, right? We'll just go with Alex.
Yeah. So I actually got a rig here. This has changed my game a lot, and as a tournament angler, probably a lot of guides too, is when you're out there and you're using 6 rods or you got your extra gear out there and you break off, you always got a tie. So back when the guys were doing the crimps, they were also started using quick clips. And maybe I'm new to this and everybody else has been using these, but this is a number 6 Roscoe clip made in New York, super strong. And all it is, let's see if we can get this close. So I always use 80-pound braid, and I tie it to this Roscoe clip. So that's always going to be tied on my rig. And then I go to my rig, which I got my swivel and all that. This is actually a bumping rig, which this is one I'll be using against Ray next weekend, actually.
I see it's a number 5.
So the cool thing about this is if you got a long rig and you got all sorts of stuff. You got a double hook, you got chain swivel. Let's say I break the line in the middle. Well, now I've got to do a bunch of rigging and tying, but I got rigs ready to go, and I don't want to sit on the boat, waste time fishing. So in literally seconds, you untie this clip, and you're back to you get another rig out. It's ready to go. You clip it on, and you're fishing again. So it just saves you time. My goal is when I'm on the boat to do 0 tying whatsoever, 0. So I can switch clips out, switch gears. I don't know if I've ever broke the braid. Very rare do I break the main line, but I just like that because you can just switch out quick. You're not tied to a swivel. You break your rig, and then you got to tie.
How many rods do you carry, Alex, like when you're tournament fishing? I know there's usually a limit on how many you can carry, but if you got 6 rods out, how many rods do you keep on the boat ready rigged?
You know, as a rod owner or rod company owner, you think I'd have like 100, but
I was about to say, don't you just have like 10 rods pre-rigged?
no, I really, I have like, I think now finally, I think I have 8 that are ready to go. And that's about it. I don't know. I should probably have more, but you know, I like keeping things like the same reels and all that stuff. But
yeah,
and with my tournament series, I don't care if you got 1,000 rods on your boat. You know, in most of my events, it's only 6 at a time.
True.
But it's nice. And again, back to the cool thing about this is you can take those rods out of the boat, maybe have an extra rod or two if you break something on the rod or the reel. But now, if you break off, all you have to do is undo whatever left of that rig. I'll put it in a bucket, get a new rig out, and clip it, and I'm fishing again. I mean, in literally seconds, you're fishing again.
And
that's
the
what's cool
bucket
about
thing.
that.
That's pretty cool.
You know, a lot of these, I'll tell you what's cool is being a tournament director, because I get like 60 boats through my weigh-in line, and I see them in the morning, and I see everything they do. And some of these guys, you know, the Massengales, Rob Benningfield, I get to see their rigs, you know, little techniques they do. And that's, I think, what's helping sometimes change the industry and making a lot of these younger generation better anglers, because, you know, people are sharing. But little things like this clip changed my game.
I got a quick question for you on that. Bobcat Outdoors asked, does that affect the sensitivity when you're bumping?
It doesn't for me.
There you go.
No.
Well, I just want to do a quick station identification real quick. Y'all, if you're just joining us, we have 3 of the 4 guests that we had on here. Alex Nagy, who was just talking. He's the owner of Twisted Cat Outdoors Fishing Tournament Series and Rippin Lips Fishing Equipment. And you have Ray Ferguson. He's a professional tournament angler, has been for a long time. And then Chris from El Gato Azul YouTube channel. You can check out all these guys' links in the description, as well as the other guests that we had. We're going to keep going, but I just wanted to make sure you're aware of who they are, and I just want to thank them before we get out of here and in the middle of this for all the people that are just coming in. So we have a wealth of experience up here. We just heard Alex's, I think, number 3 or 4. So we're going to go down to Ray and check his next invention out. What do you got for us, Ray?
I'm going to have to say the cell phone.
Okay.
You know, you got your YouTube, you know, that's all really one. People in Alex, he kind of come late to the game, but he mentioned some people that were fishing on the Mississippi River. When you fish the Mississippi River, Alex, tell me if I'm wrong, there's not another place like it.
No, and you know, so I'm literally right on the Mississippi River in Pool 20. Like, the river is 40 yards behind this camera, and that's where I live here.
Wow.
Up here is different. So I'm in Pool 20, right where the Des Moines River dumps into the Mississippi, where Illinois, Iowa, Missouri all come together. So if I look this way is Iowa. If I look straight, it's Missouri. I'm sitting in Illinois. So blue cats can't get past this dam. It's the biggest dam on the Mississippi. So these dams slow things down, make it more of like, you know, there can be fast water. So for my whole life growing up, you know, fishing, pleasure boating, it's kind of chill up here. And I get in this tournament fishing, and I start traveling to St. Louis. And I remember my first time in Memphis, and it was a 4:00 takeoff, and I'd never seen the river. My partner went down there. He did some pre-fishing. He knew it, but I had never seen it. And we leave at 4:00, and we got a light on the front of the boat, and it was kind of a makeshift light. So we had a rope on each side that I would kind of turn it, you know, so we could see.
Mm-hmm.
And we came on a barge. It was like, I don't know, Ray, 8, 9 wide, 9 long, 3 engines. And finally the sun comes up, and it looked like I was on Mars. You know, you don't see boat ramps or anything, and you see sandbars like miles long. It's just a different, when you get south of St. Louis to the Gulf, is a different animal. And like Ray said, I mean, you see some crazy stuff out there. It's just different. It's desolate. There's not a lot of pleasure boats. And, you know, you might see like a boat that's buried in the sand upside down from 40 years ago. Really cool. And probably what you're touching on is the cell phone is a big safety factor, especially when you get, you know, in the lower Mississippi.
Oh yeah. Anytime you're out there, you need to make sure that your cell phone, and a lot of places we go, we don't have service, but your cell phone is a real safety. We kind of take things for granted. And when you go and look at your YouTube videos, there's a lot of people out there that are sharing a lot of information and great information, and I applaud them, because where I come from, we was tight-lipped on everything that we did, because we didn't want someone doing what we were doing and catching fish. But the things that we talk about on these shows, it's the truth. It really, people are, they're spilling it all. And a lot of people that's never bumped, we've talked about bumping, they learned it from YouTube. Well, when I started tournament fishing, that's what I'm getting at, is we didn't have YouTube to go to. So everything
I didn't even have TVs back then.
Yeah, three channels, baby. 3 channels. But we learned it by someone telling us, and that was, you had to be real good friends with someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the modern technology has made the, sharing secrets and sharing information so much better. And, I think there's some people argue sometimes it goes too far when people start showing, people's holes and giving them coordinates and stuff. And I think sometimes, it can go too far. But for the majority of the people doing the sharing, they're sharing the ideas and the techniques and sharing what they've learned, and not actually where they catch their fish from. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's awesome that we're getting more people involved. And I think along with that, what we've done is we've taken the idea of conservation and kind of intertwined it. And hopefully, these people that we're teaching how to catch bigger and better fish aren't keeping those giants, and they're learning to keep the smaller ones if they want to eat them. But that's a good one.
Kevin, I agree so much on that statement. What we're doing tonight, and like I said, a memory popped up 11 years ago last week was the first time I ever went out actually on the river for blue cats. Wow. Unfortunately, one of the first fish we caught was 50 pounds. I sold my pleasure boat, and since then is all in. So it's changed my life, and like I said, it's crazy. But back then, and you three probably been in a lot longer than I have. It seems like when I got in 11 years ago, it was still really, really new. I was watching the Steve Douglas videos, but a lot of tight-lipped. It was just different, and each year it's exploding, of course, but it wouldn't get there without like a channel like this where we talk about, like, I'm showing you a rig I'm literally going to use in a tournament next weekend. Like, I have nothing to hide. And some people say, well, or a YouTuber showing his spot. I've tried fishing people's spots that I've seen. People have tried fishing my spots. I can tell you, I've had a buddy that he knows where I fish, and he couldn't catch a fish if he tried there, vice versa. So whether it's a technique, there's a million things that person might do in that spot. So I hate when people say, well, that's my spot or that's my spot. I mean, like I said, it's been a cool growth in 11 years that I've been involved. And, this show is awesome to be able to share, what Ray has been doing and how things have changed. To get to, I mean, like I said, you guys have been around a lot longer than I have, but it's definitely changed in 11 years. Like, wow.
I'm definitely the youngest one on the panel to catfishing. I've catfished all my life, but I started chasing the big cats and targeting catfish 3 years ago. So I'm learning so much from you guys, watching you and listening to stories and all that. So I guess what you're saying is kind of like, for me, that I'm learning a lot by the YouTube and all that stuff. But yeah, I agree. Sharing things you shouldn't feel so bad about it.
Oh no. Let me share one thing on the Demon Dragon. I know we're going back to the Demon Dragon, but where Alex, if Alex could pull it up, the adjustment, we was fishing Texoma, and we had a lot of water come in and cold front, and the fish got down in the mud. So show them again how you adjust that. Notice, move it all the way to the hook if you don't mind. Move your bait all the way to the hook. And what I'm getting at is, by what he's done with his Demon Dragon is the same thing we did with a cork years ago. We could adjust it. And I know, and you see how quick he adjusted that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you run your Demon Dragons, run your 3-foot leader out there, run one, change the depths in them. You could run one to the end of the hook like that. You could run it a foot from the hook and then run another one 2 foot from the hook. But it allows it's a presentation thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that will help you catch a lot of fish.
And that Ray Ferguson special edition will catch even more.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sign some.
This is a rig. I just tied it on this show. I'm gonna use this exact rig I just did on the show next weekend.
And he's gonna beat Ray with that rig. Is that what you said?
I don't know.
Promise you. I promise you, he will.
How cool is that, though? I'm showing you the rig. I'm gonna go against Ray next weekend.
And that's another. I just want to mention. I'm not really passionate about it, but I am in a way. Tying that Demon Dragon like that, you can't do that when you tie 2 knots to the end of them.
That's exactly right.
That's why I run that Demon Dragon through. And now the brutes only have 2 eyes on them. So on the brutes,
now I don't know.
I run the second loop through the back eye, and it works just the same. So with that, when you run that line through that Demon Dragon, you can adjust it like Ray's talking about. And not only that, but you can take that and you can even downstick or suspend baits with the Demon Dragon on, and you don't have to tie a new one.
This thing is giant.
Yeah, do the rattle test.
So that's the regular one, Ray's signature.
Oh yeah, I call that one that sounds like a baby rattle to me.
Yeah, that's gonna put some work in this coming weekend.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to commercialize the show or anything, but we all believe in Demon Dragons. I got a promo code in the description to save you a little bit of money at demondragons.com. If you want to get the best, go ahead and
yeah. I'm not even sponsored by Demon Dragon. I just, like I've been my whole time in this sport, is I just use what I believe. There's a lot of great. I mean, every sponsor that sponsors me or Twisted Cat, I wouldn't let them sponsor me if I didn't believe it. Demon Dragons don't sponsor me. I'm good friends with Nate. I probably should try to get a sponsorship, but I believe in them. I really do.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to the next thing. Chris, what you got? I think, is this number 4 or 5?
Well, I think this is number 4.
Okay.
And I think probably the biggest thing that's changed for us in trophy catfishing has been the CPR and releasing of big fish. I think that's probably helped guys more be willing to share. Guys always say, man, you give out locations. That's crazy. I can't believe you do that. But I'll say, the fish aren't going to be there when you go, unless you go maybe the next day. I fished lakes, so fishing lakes and rivers is completely different. Maybe in a river, you can tell somebody a deep hole. But in a lake, the fish are just constantly on the move. The conditions are completely changing from day to day, week to week, year to year. So, I mean, I'll give out locations and guys are like, wow, and then, but, they'll go and the fish aren't going to be there. But I think CPR has helped guys more than anything be willing to more share with guys that are, big fish conservation friendly, willing to turn the big fish loose. When I first started doing this, guys kept everything. When I was a kid, we kept everything. Dad kept everything. And,
same way here.
About 1990, right around 1990, I told my dad, when I was big enough to go get these big fish myself, I said, this will be the last one. He's like, bring one home to eat. I brought one home. And it's like, this will be the last one you get from me, so enjoy it because, after this, they're all going back in the lake. And I think that's probably helped guys be more open and willing to help other anglers try to get better. We're always, we put on a junior angler program on our local fishery, big fish competition and stuff. And we try to help kids understand the importance of, not just big fish conservation, but also responsible harvest.
Yep.
And I think that's helped guys be more open to help.
Uh-oh.
He's in Texas. There's no telling what's going on.
Well, I'll kind of finish his statement there. You know, responsible harvest. There's nothing wrong with keeping fish.
All right, y'all there?
We're back. I was just kind of finishing up your thought, but since you're back, go ahead.
So, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that's changed in catfishing since I started back, in the early 90s. And it's still, still got a long ways to go. You can go on Catfish America and see all these guys really happy about killing these giant fish. And it really chaps my hide a little bit, but I get it. Some guys,
it's legal.
It's legal.
It's legal. So I mean, I get it, but you got to teach them about that responsible harvest part.
I do know that with on our junior angler programs, the kids, they all get it. They're all willing to turn them loose, and they understand the importance of turning them loose. And I got a young junior angler, Action Jackson. He's 6. I want him to be able to catch big fish. I know our lake took a beating from guys keeping the big ones. Back when I first started, all the the guides kept them, and there would be 10 giant fish caught, and one guy can really do some serious damage, and 10 of them can really hurt a fishery. But I think that it's progressing. It's gotten gradually a little bit better each year. There's still we still got a ways to go.
Yeah, there's still some knuckleheads out there,
I think though that it's going in the right direction. It's things happen slowly on that front. I think some guys are just kind of set in their ways, and they're just not going to do it. They're not going. If somebody tells them they got to turn it loose, then that's just going to make them want to keep every damn one of them. But for me, that's probably one of the bigger things that's changed.
Not really an invention, but an idea, which is kind of like an invention.
An idea, but that idea has helped grow the sport.
Absolutely,
it's helped people. Like these guys on panel, that they're more willing probably to turn to help guys that are asking questions, because they know that guy that's asking that question is going to turn the fish loose. And I'm the same way. When guys ask me, can you help me figure these fish out? I'm willing to help, as long as you're going to turn them loose.
Right.
If you're going to turn them loose, I'll tell you how we caught them, where we caught them, when we caught them, why we caught them.
That makes sense.
That's a cool thing. And, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that's changed in what we're doing.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about, so the people who are listening, don't be upset. You can keep fish. You can keep whatever your state allows. But what we're trying to encourage is the release of those bigger fish, those fish that have those genes to get that big. And the common theory in the catfish world is that not every catfish is created the same, kind of like humans. Some of us have genes to be really, really tiny and never get bigger. And some of us have genes to go be NFL football stars, so we want to keep those bigger fish that can produce that gene, to where their offspring can create more big boys and big girls for us to catch. So, what I try to promote is, keeping, if you want to keep some fish to eat, keep them under, 10 pounds or 5 to 10 pounds, and clean those up, eat them. And I used to be the guy that would pack the freezer full every year. But with this YouTube thing and just my access, I am blessed. I'm 5 minutes away from a river. I can go get catfish any day of the week. So I just get it when we want to eat it. And that way the rest of them can keep getting bigger. Go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
That's good. But that's the main problem that, you have with the catfish. They're so good to eat. People are like,
delicious. They're absolutely delicious.
It was funny.
Yeah, the best ones to eat are like 2 to 5 pounds. I mean,
you can't tell someone that though. But people,
I don't know our lake.
No,
I will say that I've heard that. Listen, Santee Cooper is really clean, and people talk about big fish don't taste good. Yes, they do. I've ate them all my life. My dad still keeps most everything he catches. And 50-pounder tastes just as good as a 5-pounder in my lake. Sorry, Ray, go ahead.
That's exactly right. One of the, I had that 70-pounder I caught up in St. Louis, and the first remark, you got stew meat for the whole year.
Yep.
That's the first remark, and it was from my uncle. So, but like I said, that's what we grew up on. I'm right there with Kevin. We grew up on Santee Cooper, and that lake you went to catch fish to eat, and people would take July, go fish that canal, fish, fill up a cooler, and they were good.
Yep.
And it's whatever bit the hook, they released it in grease, not in a live well.
That's right.
It's released in grease.
I try to encourage people to fish that canal more often. In fact, I just did a video about it. I want them to fish that canal and get those 5-10 pounders, and it's pretty fun. I want them to take those and then leave the big ones out in the big water.
But you gotta don't ever say that in front of Melissa, because I'm gonna promise you right now, I took her to canal. We pulled out of Black's camp. We was there for about 15 minutes side imaging, and she put a 50 in the boat.
Well, these people that come down, though, that make their annual trip to Santee Cooper, they're not side imaging. They're not, they're not doing that. They come in John boats or pontoon boats, and they're doing just vertical bumping down the river or down the canal. But yeah, there are big fish in the canal, but the majority of people coming aren't targeting them like that. Alex, any input?
No, I mean, I agree. That's, one thing that, we do is CPR, obviously, with the tournament. Every fish, goes back. They got to be healthy. And that's changed, like we talked earlier, when Ray talked about boats, just the know-how and how to use oxygen, how much oxygen, that when you put water in your live well in the morning, you're flushing it all day. So this weekend, when I fill my live well up, I'll resurf all day long, new water in, to keep these fish. They leave my live well healthier than when they left the river. Is my goal. But we all started somewhere. My first time catfishing, when I went out by myself for the first time, I caught a 40-pounder, and I remember it was pitch black. I didn't know lights. It was on an old pontoon, and I came across the river. I wanted to get a picture taken, so I had my brother come take a picture, and that fish probably didn't make it, and it was that moment I realized, like, gosh, I caught a 40-pound fish, my first fish solo, and I drug it around on my boat just to get a picture of it. But then and I tried to put it back in, and, it had a little life in it. Who knows if it survived, but I learned right there, like, it was stupid, but now I know, you know what I mean? So with us here helping people, what it's about, why we want to put these big fish back. So my 8-year-old, when he's my age, can catch the fish like that. That's my main thing, is the future generation can have the fishing that we have today.
One of the biggest tips I heard this year was I was filming a video for, just about tournaments. And Scott Peavy won the Santee Cooper Big Cat Brawl. And he said something in the video that makes so much sense, but I never heard it before. And it really can go towards anybody, people with big, expensive boats with live wells in them, or the guy who's retrofitted a cooler. He said to keep a bucket on your boat, like a 5-gallon bucket. And he said every half hour or 45 minutes, get that bucket, take the old water out, and then put the new water in, 4 scoops, and you got 20 gallons of fresh water in there. So that was something I was like, what, that's so simple, but it makes so much sense. One thing that, especially in the summer, that people don't think about, and I think about it because of my bait fish, is that live well heats up too. And all my bait fish, I was going to release the ones that I didn't use, and I was recirculating water every half an hour. They all died because that thing heat up in that 100-degree weather, and that's tough too. So, what do you guys do for tournaments in the heat for your fish?
Well, we've got insulated live wells. Okay. Our live wells from a Sea Arc, they have the insulation on underneath to keep it a little bit cooler. But go back to your 5-gallon bucket. One thing that a fish, every one of us has fish throw up. When that happens, I like to dip the water out You can pull the plug. I like to get it out of there as quick as possible and keep changing that water. And when he said 20 minutes, I'm changing it. I'll change it for 20 minutes. I'll just keep adding fresh water up and taking it out until I feel like it's comfortable where I don't see any bones and stuff, just to make sure I get all of that out of there, because I've had that happen before. And we've been in tournaments, and I hate to say it, but I've killed every fish we had because the pump went out, because we wasn't checking it. We were fishing and we wasn't catching anything. We'd already had 5 fish, or 5 or 3, I can't remember, but I killed them all. Looked in there, the pump wasn't working. He said, "Yeah, I've been having problems with my pump." Good time to tell me now. So, but that stuff like that happens. So always keep an eye on your fish. I learned that.
Yeah, and one thing, as a tournament director, when just like this weekend, I get to see all these boats come through, and whether it's a 100-gallon live well, 50-gallon live well, 200-gallon live well, I've seen it all. Fresh oxygen is great and definitely a must, but fresh water is key. You can have as much oxygen as the world, but if you don't have fresh water, some guys go out and they think, I'm going to put 80 gallons of water in this live well, and we're good to go, and we're going to leave it all day long. So even if it's nice weather and they're puking up, that live well is going to be, do you want to drink that water that's in that live well? Absolutely not.
No.
But
That's right.
I guarantee you that some of the live wells I seen yesterday in like 107-degree weather, I would have drank the water that those fish were sitting in because it was so clean. From the Massengales years ago, wondering how, Massengales had the best fish. Nobody's fish came out like the Massengales. What were they doing? They were putting pump on the side of the boat, 10 feet deep, with fresh water coming in, filling it out. So as a backup, if I have a pump go out, I always have a generator on the front of my boat anyways, for tournaments. If I got to charge at night and there's not a hookup, I'll plug in a pump and put a hose in my live well, and I'll run it 10 foot with that electrical cord tight to the side of the boat, and I got clean, fresh water coming in constantly. My water is clear to the bottom.
Pro tip right there.
That water is very important. Keeping your live well clean.
Yep.
Yeah, dirty live well is not going to work. Period.
No.
Alex, what's your next one? Do you have any more? Or did we get all of them? I've had so much fun talking about them, I forgot to keep count.
Something, and I don't know if it's a tip or not, but about a year ago, I started wearing these, and these have been around a long time. These performance long sleeves. I've got like a short one on now, but these like sun shirts, I just bought 5 of them from, I think, Scales or something. They had some cool looking ones, but man, they are the most comfortable. That's all I wear now. I just got, I don't know, a month ago, I had to take my shirt off. I had just a regular cotton shirt on, and I got burnt to a crisp. And ever since then, well, I started last year wearing them, but like I said, this might sound crazy, but like I said, all I'm wearing now is these long sleeves when I'm out there. They can be black. I wore a black, actually, long sleeve all day yesterday, and only thing that happened is I burnt my face really bad. I didn't have a hat or sunglasses on, and I didn't put sunscreen on. But that black, even though it was black, that long sleeve performance shirt like this, that's all I wear now.
Yep. Ray?
Well, if you go back, if you've ever heard of Sea Deck, and Alex can tell you, my Sea Deck, boy, I would not change that for the world.
What is it? Explain to the people, what is a Sea Deck?
It's a foam padding that you put in the boat, and it makes everything quiet, and you can walk around it barefooted, because we're in aluminum boats. I think you've got a picture of on a cooler, don't you? You can probably show people.
Not here, but
yep. Well, see, here we go. But you can look on it.
People, you keep talking, and I'll get it ready.
All right. See, that's why he's the president. He's got everything.
I have the power to mute you, Ray.
I know. The Sea Deck and my canopy. My canopy.
Yeah. Canopy number one.
I fished many years with no canopy, because my idea of a canopy was it's going to get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets in the way.
It does.
But it is a relief.
Yes.
When you can get underneath it. It's amazing.
Yeah, in the summertime, I used to have this little low bass boat that I catfished out of, and I was done by 11:30. So with the Bimini top on my pontoon boat, it still gets hot, but man, I'm not sitting out there just being drained by the sun. I that's my number one invention right there.
Yep. And they got the little battery operated DeWalt fans. There you go. There's the sea deck. So underneath that is just an aluminum plating.
Yeah.
But that is so nice and so it's just incredible.
And it looks cool. That's the number one rule of catfishing too.
Yeah. Well, it looks cool, but
it looks cool. And I don't know what I missed when you guys were talking, but not besides the sea deck. When I was telling you about the shirts, a Bimini top. I mean,
I already got you covered.
Yeah, we just talked about
my Bimini has nothing. My full enclosure. I don't care about the weather. It's the sun. That'll take. I can fish all day long when I got that Bimini on top of me.
Yeah,
stopping that heat. But man, that sun all like yesterday. The boats that quit early is because they didn't have their Bimini. They didn't have their Bimini.
Hey, Alex, I'm gonna help you on something. DeWalt makes a fan. Just a little battery operated fan. You need to get you 2 of them. It will save you.
I got 2 Milwaukee ones with batteries.
There you go. See, I'm trying to help him.
Hey, look, he's got all the tools he needs to defeat you. Don't worry about that.
Well, I want him to be cool while he's doing it. I want him to be comfortable so he can come in.
I got the next weekend. The Bimini's going to be up. My slick shirt's going to be on, and the
signature series Demon Dragon is going to be on.
Yeah, he's pulling it up. I know he is.
And my Ray Ferguson. But you know what, Ray? How about this? If I beat you next weekend, I want a Demon Dragon signed. The commissioner.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Now we're bringing this up.
All right. Well, Ray, do you have any more? Chris, do you have another one? I believe we're at 5. I can't remember.
I think my last one's probably the My last one's probably the Navionics app for your phone.
Oh yeah.
Pre-gaming your trip. When you're fishing your home fishery, you don't need one, but when you do a lot of travel fishing like we do, being able to see all that stuff before you go and figuring out your game plan of I'm gonna start here and
he's giving you a hard time, isn't he?
He knows I can't do anything, so what are you gonna do? But yeah, that Navionics app has probably helped with the game planning for travel fishing. Being able to get out of here, you wild little turkey. But yeah, being able to figure out your game plan before you travel fish.
The Navionics is a great. It really helps you tremendously when you travel to a different area. It is amazing. And when they got the color shading, have you noticed the color shading?
Yeah, I got the color shading on mine where I make all the shallow stuff red.
Yes, that right there.
Don't go there.
Look, yeah, that's a game changer right there.
Don't go full speed through the red.
Oh yeah. I don't know. What is it? It's not Texoma, but Tawakoni. Tawakoni is in Texas, and in the middle of the lake, it's a forest. Well, that's not on the map. People you just cut out across that lake, not even knowing there's trees there. So that's one of the things you got to look at. It doesn't tell you trees, it just tells you the depth of the water. So we were out there cutting across that lake, running wide open.
Oh man!
Oh yeah. Well, you better have some kind of mapping system when you come to Santee Cooper. You can get away with it on Lake Moultrie, but you go to Lake Marion, you could kill yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a bowl. It's just a bowl lake. There's nothing fancy about it, but there's a forest they left out in the middle of it, and they don't tell you. It's not marked. It's not anything. It's just a forest.
We fished Tawakoni a lot, and I was there when they had the Bassmasters, and those guys, they don't see all that stuff either. They were hauling ass across that forest, and you would see. I mean, it was just like it's just a gamble. You would see about every fifth one, just
tough.
Tearing up their lower unit, just hit because there's timber a foot below the water, and there is a giant forest of it. And yeah, I mean,
it's tough.
navionics help,
You'll see
but,
people.
you know,
You'll see people in the rice fields too in the river. They just right on through and not even know it. Awesome, guys. Well, listen, we're almost 2 hours in, and we've had such a good. I've had a great time talking. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the tips. I hope everyone in chat has enjoyed the show. Hit the thumbs up if you got any kind of good ideas or you just enjoyed the show and the conversation. I appreciate it. Share the stream out. Subscribe if you haven't. Check these guys out. Ray is supposed to be having a YouTube channel come up soon, so he doesn't have a link yet. But Ray really does help out the catfishing community any way he can. And I just want to publicly thank you, Ray. You've kind of taken me under your wing and helped me out a bunch. I appreciate you a lot.
Hey, wait. One thing, the ACA. I didn't get to give my fifth one. The ACA.
Okay, go ahead.
ACA is out there. People need to look it up. They need to see what they're doing. They're limited staff. People think, it's a big thing. It's limited staff, and they are working really hard behind the scenes.
Okay.
Those guys, it's a
American Catfishing Association.
Yes, sir. They are definitely trying. I just ask everybody to give them a chance and let them work through it. So.
Gotcha. Well, I thought we were done. I apologize, Ray.
You're good. I just had to get that one in there.
Yeah.
They took all my other ones.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all the knowledge. Y'all check out Chris Gato Azul. He does some live streaming and makes some videos. And of course, he's got that cute little boy in the background that loves to catch them big blue cats. But check him out. His YouTube channel link is in the description. You got Alex over here to my left. He runs an awesome tournament series, Twisted Cat Outdoors. If you're in the Midwest region and you want to check out his tournament series, I got the link in the description where you can go check it out. And then if you're in the market for some catfishing products, rods, and terminal tackle, go check him out. Rippin Lips. Is it rippinlips.com or is it rippinlips.net? And that link is, you don't even have to remember that. Just go in the description, click on that link, go check them out. Very affordable rods, I must say. One of the most affordable rods on the market. If you're looking for an entry rod that's not, a beginner rod, not something that you buy from Walmart, but it's an awesome tournament rod. People use it all over, and but it's moderately priced, so you can get it without breaking the bank. So check that out. Of course, check out Chat Cats on YouTube, and if you're in the Chattanooga area and you need a guide, check out Scenic City Fishing Charters. That's also Joe Jellison. And then our fella that couldn't join us tonight, the Fishing Magician 2.0 Mark. He had some dishwasher issues or washing machine issues overflowing, so he couldn't make it. And y'all, that just shows you that these people on YouTube and stuff are real people. They have real issues just like everybody else. But go check him out too. The link's in the description. But guys, I'm going to pray us out, and then we'll get out of here. Just hang out after we end the show. That way I can thank you guys. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this opportunity, Lord. We haven't done this in a while, and I thank you for the people that have come in and supported it. Thank you for these gentlemen that have come up on panel tonight and shared their ideas and helped that maybe will help people catch better and more fish, Lord. I thank you for the privilege of doing this. People all over the world are struggling with hunger and war, and we get to sit up here on a Sunday night and talk about a hobby. And I just thank you for that, and I appreciate all you do for me. And I just ask that if anybody doesn't know you, Lord, that they would ask the question. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody, and thank you for the super chat, Fracture Fix. Appreciate it. He said ACA shout out. Awesome. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And everybody, until next time, happy fishing.